Support only. My wife cheated on me with a neighbor, help. Story 1. So here goes my story. I've been married to my wife for 14 years and been with her for over 20 because of being high school sweethearts. I found out about 2 months ago that she cheated on me with a neighbor. I caught her basically because our kids blew it for her with telling me about their day, and her being in the Ashol's house for the amount of time she was alone didn't make sense to me. I asked my one daughter, where was mommy when you guys came back, and I don't know, she was inside and said that the girl that went in said that the other guy said he'd be right out. Huh? So long story short, I confronted her the next day, and just like any other cheater, she tried to lie at first and then finally broke down. She swears that all they did was kiss and he touched her chest, then she stopped it because it felt wrong. I kicked her out the following day, and since we have gone to counseling and she has mocked back in. I'll be honest, I did it more for my kids than her because it was hell without them in my life. Yes, I still saw them, but it took a lot more effort and was always awkward. Now here comes my questions. After talking to her and going to counseling, they had been estimating for about 3 weeks. She sent him pictures and he sent them to her. She says that she only sent pictures of her face and her BTT and jeans that were actually her, and pulled pictures offline of other people's TTS and vaginas that she sent to him as her own. By the way, I don't believe that. He sent her a picture of his junk, and when I asked, I said, let me guess, he's big, and of course she said no, not at all, he's actually little. Again, I don't believe it. My question is there a real chance that it stopped at a kiss, and if so, did it stop because she truly felt wrong or the kids came home? Because I don't see two adults that have been talking about time for 3 weeks that given a chance and the kids are gone for what was a relative long time don't knock it out. The other thing to you guys out there that have gone through this, how do you have time with your wife again? We have had time since, but sometimes, and more times than not, the thought of did he do this to you too comes into my head. I can't get it out of my head. Then this past weekend we started to have time, and when I went in her, she was so tight that it instantly got me mad. I'm not a small guy, I'm 6'2", 225 and pretty well endowed, but instantly the thought came in, well, we haven't had time in about a week and a half and she's not binging him, so that's why she got so tight, and that's why she's been looser, because he actually was bigger than me, and she lied about that also. She swears to me on her life that she didn't sleep with him, and she has been very remorseful about cheating on me. The problem is that after being with someone for that long, 24 years, I know how much she lies to everybody, and how good she is at it. Please help if you've been through this or you cheated on your boyfriend. I'm literally going crazy because I do love her, but it's starting to feel like love you have for a long-time friend and not a love you feel for your wife. I honestly don't care to have time with her, and she wants it non-stop. That's the other part I forgot in all this. She before this is a man's wet dream. She could and would have time morning, noon and night. She loves Alan never, and I mean never, says no. That adds to my thought that she didn't stop at a point that I can forgive, because she loves time. Sorry I rambled on, but this has truly cut me to the core. Thank you in advance for your comments. Redditors' reactions. Redditor 1. From what you have said, I doubt that she stopped at a kiss. It's also probable that it happened more than the one time that she got caught. I've known cheaters from both sides. In my own case, my ex did it with my ex-best friend. With regards to being able to move on, I never really could. I tried for 4 years, before throwing in the towel. I just didn't respect her anymore, and while I tried to move beyond it, it was always there, the betrayal. With regards to SX, I guess it got better for me, because I stopped respecting her, and her feeling guilty wouldn't say no to dirty things. Basically any fantasy or crazy sexual thing I wanted to try, she would do. What could she say? But the reality is, that while I loved her, it was just not the same. Redditor 2, I'd begin working on a divorce, but it's up to each individual person as to whether or not they can tolerate and forgive infidelity. I personally cannot. From your story, I think she's full of acid. The fact that she would lie at this point and lacks remorse potentially shows a dangerous pathology. She will duck you over again. If you do let her stay, therapy, she may need medication if I'm right about serious mental illness. If you want to keep your children, do not remove her from the house, as this will not look well in court. I'm sorry this happened to you and she dishonored herself, Best of luck to you in the future with whatever you choose. I hope you can work this out for the sake of your children. However, having a psycho slut mommy could damage them more. Redditor 3, I asked my one daughter where was mommy when you guys came back, and I don't know, she was inside and said that the girl that went in said that the other guy said he'd be right out. Huh? Exactly. Story 2. My 28F stepsister 29F slept with my ex-fiancé 37M and married him. It's been 5 years and my family think I should be over it already. I changed some minor details for the sake of remaining anonymous. Also, sorry this is so long. Once I started writing I found it cathartic and couldn't stop word vomiting all over the post. TLDR at the bottom. When I was 23 now 28, I was engaged to Ryan was 32, now 37. Our engagement ended when my stepsister Kelly was 24. Now 29 begged me to leave him because they loved each other, but Ryan was too afraid to break up with because he didn't want to hurt me, my family. When I confronted Ryan about it, he denied it, said she had been trying to come on to him for some time and he never mentioned it because he didn't want to ruin our relationship. He begged me not to believe her and so we continued how we were. Kelly grew resentful and made nasty comments about how I was forcing a man who didn't even love me to marry me because I had low self-esteem constantly. A month later, she sent me a video of them having time in my bed and multiple screenshots of him telling her he loved her, how he wished she was the girl he was marrying, how he hated that I wouldn't let them be together. I was devastated and angry, but my best friend convinced me not to go nuclear on them and instead to quietly move out when Ryan was at work the next week. So that's what I did. I contacted my dad and my stepmom and asked them if I could move in temporarily. I removed the money I had contributed into our joint account for wedding expenses and transferred the rest to him before closing the account. Once I got settled in, I sent all of the screenshots she sent me to all of our relatives and his. Ryan tried to get back together with me multiple times, but I ended up blocking him when I found out he had proposed to her with the same ring he gave me. I left it behind. Now Kelly is my stepsister from my mom's side. I have another stepsister 36 and stepbrother 38 from my mom's second marriage and a half-sister 26. They all went to the wedding. Whenever I tried to express I was hurt by the fact they were just supporting Kelly Ryan as though what they did to me meant nothing, they would shrug it off and say they couldn't cut them out completely because they were family. I haven't spent a single holiday with my mom's side since, neither has my older biological brother or sister. I only see my mom and half-sister when I invite them over to my place, as Kelly Ryan moved in with my mom and my stepdad a year after they got married. Our relationship is very rocky, but I've grown closer to my dad's stepmom and their children, an older stepbrother and 2 younger half-siblings, who have all been very supportive since this all happened, so it's not all been bad. On New Year's Day my boyfriend, now husband, proposed to me. We had a small engagement party which I invited my mom and half-sister to. They never turned up because I was excluding half of our family. I never invited my stepdad or stepsiblings because they were pretty hurtful when it came out that Kelly Ryan were sleeping together. They claimed it wasn't their fault I got in the way of true love and made me out to be some sort of vindictive Disney villain for being angry with them. We were planning to have our wedding ceremony this summer, but in late February my husband suggested we postponed until next year because he was concerned COVID would get worse and we would have to reschedule anyway. I ended up finding out I was pregnant a month before our original wedding date, so we had a courthouse wedding on that date with the plan to hold the ceremony next year. Only my dad's side of the family were aware of both the pregnancy and the wedding. My stepmom likes to knit, so she's been making some stuff for the baby. Recently, she posted about the things she had made on Facebook with a caption talking about how excited she was to have another grandchild soon. I was tagged in the post. I have zero issues with the post. I never told my family I wasn't going to inform my mom's side. It wasn't that I intentionally hid it from her, she just never seemed very interested in my life relationship, so I never brought it up. My mom called me an hour later to demand to know if I was pregnant and how she couldn't believe I hadn't told her she was finally going to be a grandmother. She has since invited me and my husband over to her house multiple times. I've declined every single time for the obvious reason. My stepdad, who I've barely spoken to in 5 years, has reached out to tell me how excited he is to meet the baby and my husband, Same with my siblings. Even Kelly reached out to my husband to congratulate us. I was furious. The next time my mom and stepdad called me, I finally laid into them. I told them I didn't want them to keep inviting me over when they knew I would be first to see Kelly Ryan if I came. I told them how hurt and angry I still am over what they did to me and how my family dismissed my feelings. I told them how they wouldn't throw Kelly Ryan away, but they were so quick to leave me out to rot whilst I was going through the worst betrayal I'd ever experienced in my life. I told them I wasn't even sure I wanted people like them in my child's life. My mom was crying hysterically and kept saying I was being cruel, and I couldn't deprive her of her first grandchild. The thing is, my baby isn't her first grandchild. My sister has 2 adopted daughters already who my mom doesn't even try to bond with. She kept wailing about how I might be the only person in our family to even give her grandchildren. My stepsisters are both having a hard time staying pregnant, and my half-sister has proclaimed herself to be child-free. My stepdad got angry and defensive. He claimed I was petty for holding on to something that happened 5 years ago. He pointed out how I had found someone else, so I should understand how love works, and sometimes 2 people just can't help themselves. You love who you love, basically. He said Kelly Ryan were happy together, so I should be happy for them the way they're happy for me and my husband. The ironic thing is, my sister told me Kelly Ryan looked like they were on the verge of divorce and they argue constantly. My mom complains to her about them and how my siblings all hate him but pretend they like him for Kelly's sake. I ended up hanging up because I was so angry, and when I get angry, I start crying. I didn't want them to think they got to me. Since, I've been receiving texts and calls nonstop from my mom's family. They're all essentially telling me I should be over things already. It's gotten to the point me and my husband have switched phones so he can screen my messages for me, and I don't have to read them. TLDR, my stepsister slept with my ex-fiancé and married him. I'm now happily married to someone else and we're expecting our first child together. My family thinks I should be over it already since I've moved on, but the anger is still there, and I have no interest in forming a relationship with my ex or my stepsister again. They're now putting pressure on me to try and get me to forget it ever happened. How do I make my family understand just how unforgivable what Kelly Ryan have done to me is? I would prefer not to go completely no contact, but is that my only option here? Redditors' reactions. Redditor 1, 5 years ago they didn't choose you, now you don't choose them. Simple. Redditor 2, so pathetic that all their wailing is about what you are doing to them and no apologies or even acknowledgement about what they all did to you. Sounds like you're always the one who has to accommodate others. Edit. Spelling. Redditor 3, I speak from personal experience when I say that having toxic family members in a child's life is much worse than not having them there at all. My grandparents' dad's side always talked poorly about my mom when they babysat me as a kid. It put some awful ideas in my head and led to a lot of pain and sadness for my mom as I repeated some terrible things I didn't understand. I know you would feel guilty if you cut your family off, but you can't put your own feelings over the well-being of your child. Letting people who very clearly don't respect you into your child's life is a choice you will almost certainly come to regret. Don't do that to your kid. Please. This group of people includes a woman who stole your fiancé, and adults who blamed you for having a problem with it. Do you really think these people are going to be good influences on your child? Redditor 4, being over the relationship is not the same as being over the betrayal. You can love your new husband and be happy you didn't end with Ryan and still be hurt that when everything happened your family refused to acknowledge your stepsister and ex broke up your relationship. If they genuinely don't believe they've done anything wrong, then I don't think there's any path forward. You should try and let go of your anger for your own sake, but that doesn't mean you need a relationship with them. It sounds like you have a lot of other close family. Redditor 5, you can be happy with your husband and still feel that your stepsister and ex-fiancé betrayed you and that your family left you out to dry over it. Because those things are true. Lots of reading here about difficult family relationships. Our Spartacus open thread resources on family estrangement and adult relationships with difficult parents. Perhaps you will find something that speaks to you. Since, I've been receiving texts and calls nonstop from my mom's family. They're all essentially telling me I should be over things already. It's gotten to the point me and my husband have switched phones so he can screen my messages for me, and I don't have to read them. That's lovely of your husband, but block them. They aren't going to say anything you haven't already heard, and none of it is helpful or kind. I hope you have a therapist you can work with on all of this stuff. Congrats on the baby.